Well, hello, folks. Ah, the weather is so good here now. I always start with the weather, don't I? Because it's good. Anyway, yeah, lots of things going on. Got a lot of work the next 2 months, so I don't think I'll make too many videos, but I want to do one more kind of long one when I finish the next blog post that I'm working on. It's important to me, this blog post. It's far from comprehensive, but I recommend some good books in there that you can read if you're interested in the subject of mind control, brainwashing, influencing, influencers, marketing, all that kind of stuff. But it's not really about all those things in particular. It's more focused on the idea, the popular concept of brainwashing. And, you tend to hear that term a lot. So after that, I'm busy with the film work, so hopefully I'll have good news to report on that in a couple of months. I might do some cycling videos because one must relax from time to time. Yeah, so today I was reading a lot from this one website that I subscribe to called Semi-Analysis. It's all about the semiconductor supercomputer kind of business. Let's see, what do they say in their about section here? Bridging the gap between business and the world's most important industry. Semi-Analysis is an independent research and analysis company specializing in the semiconductor and AI industries. Our in-depth coverage spans the entire supply chain, from semiconductor fabrication essentials to cutting-edge AI models, software, and infrastructure for them. You'll notice that they don't say anything about energy, materials, mining, transportation, diesel fuel, energy return on energy invested, energy return on investment, things like that. They don't discuss that. They're not interested in ecocide. They're not interested in global colonial proxy wars for control of resources necessary for their industry, like rare earths and other things. To make fiber optic cables and copper, you need copper for this stuff, and silicon chips and whatnot. You need a lot of energy, a lot of materials. Again, I think it's part of the terrestrial accelerationism that I've talked about for years, riding around on my bicycle. The NRX thing. There's so many contradictions and paradoxes involved in this space, because on one hand, everybody gives lip service to millenarianism and apocalypticism and end of the world religious stuff. On the other hand, they're all talking about becoming immortal machines, robotics, artificial general intelligence, artificial general superintelligence, whatever. And eventually, of course, all the cool guys, including Putin and Xi, which I saw a live hot mic piece. I think it's true. It seems real, but you don't know these days if it's AI or not. But they're walking down a red carpet and they're talking about, how you can live forever, and you can get organ transplants in your 80s now and stuff like that. And in the future, everyone will live to be 150 and whatnot. Xi and Putin do what they have to do for their position in the game and for their people and so on. But it seems like people in power are all deluded as hell. They all think they're going to live forever. They all think they're running a project that's going to be great for humanity, as does the United States of New Miracles, of course. The super exceptional city on the hill that's run by God Almighty. All of these power structures around the world believe that they're going to solve the world's problems and create heaven on earth. They're all protopian and utopian, even if they think they're practical and realistic. Like, from a realist point of view, a realist historian, so a cultural analyst, whatever. Yeah, realist. They hardly give any lip service to complex, evolving fabrics of living systems. I mean, my God, they're so divorced from nature that they can't see where they're embedded, and they don't even know who they are. Being immortal on a computer chip screams of your not understanding what mortality means. You have to be alive to be mortal. If we put a Dyson sphere around the sun and ran a ton of data centers, supercomputers on Mars that was somehow networked throughout the galaxy, with nuclear power plants, 20th generation nuclear power plants or whatever. The bottom line is those things aren't alive. You'll never convince me that the machines are alive. This is the future of humanity, is to become a machine. Well, then humanity is dead. It's not humanity anymore. It's not part of the fabric of evolving complex living systems with emergent qualities over time and space. Well, you don't care, right? And maybe that's God's plan, somewhere in the Old Testament or the New Testament, you can interpret it as God wants us to become machine. Homo Deus book. I mean, it's all silly nonsense, really, but we love it because it's exciting. And it's $1 trillion industry. So get your investment strategy sorted out, figure out what feeder companies you're going to invest in, and all that. Well, there's still markets to play, because at some point circumstances will dictate that these markets go away and that the whole bloody thing is unplugged. That's my opinion. I think it's an informed opinion, but lots and lots of smart, wealthy people will beg to differ with me, because the future is bright. I mean, we're all going to live to be 150. Eventually, we'll be immortal machines, and there's nothing that AI can't do. In other words, LLMs, large language models, and most of these supercomputers exist just to train large language models. And those are far from sentient or conscious. And, that's a long story. You should read about that and learn about how those things work, how those supercomputers work. So that's why I wanted to put you guys, just kind of let you know about this semi-analysis website. I'll put it in the description to this video, the link to it. You can subscribe, or you can have a paid subscription if you're interested. I mean, it's deep stuff, and you might not be interested in technology that much, but you should know about it. And this is a good research source from the horse's mouth about the subject. So I think it's a good thing to look at. At the end of the day, we're accelerating towards the destruction of our habitat, which means we go away. I don't know if there's going to be robots to take over the Blade Runner future if we commit ecocide continually and wreck our habitat. I have a feeling that we're going to need engineers working on algorithms and building computer chips and designing them and building foundries and all that for a couple hundred years more to get to the point where you can be an immortal machine. But they seem to think that it's going to happen pretty damn soon. It's like the coming of the Lord any day now. We got the date wrong last time, but he'll be coming back to Earth tomorrow or next day, or once the Greater Israel project is done. The temple will be rebuilt, and Jesus will come, and all these prophesied things will happen that we've been talking about for millennia. And of course, all of that was, reconciled back in the day. All the early Christians were trying to figure out how to make their story make sense from from Old Testament prophecies, because Jesus was a Jew, as you know. Anyway, we have our own high-tech prophecies, and it really is amazing how fast things are happening. But these feedbacks and the impacts of climate change are happening faster than we thought, and they're going to be more devastating than we thought originally. And ecocide is happening faster than we thought, so biodiversity loss is occurring faster than we thought. And that's not good, because we depend on the total fabric of life for our existence. We can't just make food with a replicator and, go run ultra marathons on those calories and become geniuses. A lot of it is so fantastic, it's mind-boggling. It's like we live in a complete science fiction world where a lot of science fiction has actually happened, come to fruition. So it's very ironic, as I said, contradictions, paradoxes everywhere, and very confusing if you don't know much about it. It's Orwellian and all that kind of thing. What's going on in the world? It's mind shattering. And to see that our Western leaders really don't know about anything, really. And they're more or less just doing what the oligarchs tell them to do without knowing what the oligarchs are doing. So they're quite ignorant. So if you're a dictator and you think it's easier to control your people if they're all ignorant, if you're an oligarch, you think it's easier to control your politicians if they're all ignorant. And then we have, stubborn, purposeful kind of willing ignorance that we struggle to maintain. And for most of the plebs and proles who are enjoying the ownership society, that's something that Piketty talks about in his book. Remember that quote where the guy said at Davos or whatever, in the future you will own nothing and be happy. We're going to be paying rent. Ownership society is going away, plebs and proles, so you're going to lose that. And the name of the game for the oligarchs, I think, is that they realize they're not going to need you anymore. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy to wipe out people. I don't think. I mean, it would be so easy to do that you wouldn't need to think about it twice if you really wanted to do that. So they're going to maintain this thing where they try to keep us on a leash, a short leash, and pacified and domesticated while they do their business. And in their mind, I think, at the end of the day, it's all going to work out really, really good for you guys in the global south and in Chad. You're going to have these big, huge Central African solar energy plants and 28,000 generation nuclear power plants that are going to run all the big, huge data centers. They miss the bigger picture in terms of the energy requirement and the materials requirement. But I guess they believe that somehow it's all going to work out because they're all very special geniuses who are going to be able to somehow direct that energy and those materials into mining asteroids and other planets. And we'll never run out of stuff. All of this BS about thinking you can have infinite growth on a finite planet. That's for, idiots like me. It's not, there's nothing finite about it, William T. Ephemeralization, technological and engineering expertise is moving at a pace. And we're going to figure it all out because we're smart. We're really, really smart, and you're stupid. So, ecologists and people like that are idiots. And there's so few people like me in the world that think like me. I mean, most people are like, they're happy that, they're saved, or they're very happy that they're Islamic, or that they are somehow a really intelligent atheist or something. People are pretty happy if they can get by, and they have coping mechanisms, and they have lots of hopium and lots of fun, distracting addictions to obsess about. So they're not going to think too deeply about any of this stuff. And they're happy just to go along and get along. So it seems like there's no revolution in store. People just don't have the courage for that anymore. And when you look at what happens to poor people in the Middle East and to, you know, European people, or yes, Slavic too, but people in Ukraine and whatnot, when these real wars happen, Zelensky opened the gates for the 18 to 22-year-olds to leave the country if they want. I don't know why, but he did that. There's speculation. People are talking about it. But they get to run away, thank God. Everybody else is going to continue to be killed in that war because nobody seems to want to really stop it. And nobody wants to listen to each other. So that's one of the problems with game theory and all these different things that I'm writing about in my next piece is if you're not listening to people, if you don't want to understand their side, their perspective, where they're coming from, what their needs are, what they're negotiating for, then it's moot. Nothing's going to happen. You're not going to have any meaningful agreements that are long-lasting and profound. So, it's kind of a joke. So why don't we just spend our resources and money on warfare? And with all of our problems in the world, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to ask countries that are already, swimming in debt to spend their money on more weapons. At the end of the day, I think those weapons will just be turned upon other European countries because they won't have anything to do with this surplus of weapons. At the end of the day, they're going to be like, okay, we're going to have to go the right-wing nationalists, blood and soil route again. So we're going to have to fight each other for some reason. It's not like they're going to get any, coal or tin mines or whatever they used to fight over in the old days. Did the Roman Empire go to the UK, to Britannia, to Britain back in the day for tin? People do speculate. People do talk about that. Maybe that's why. Well, I'm sure there were many reasons why the empire wanted to expand into the British Isles, just like many reasons they wanted to go everywhere else. But what are we going to be killing each other for in the future? I mean, cryptocurrency, tokens, is that it? We got to protect the data centers. So you build tons of data centers in Spain. There's no water. And somehow you're going to just desalinate the Mediterranean and use it to cool off data centers because we need them so much. We can't live without them. Who needs pears and peaches and apples? We need data centers. So, that's where we're headed. And it's utter madness in my book. I think it's bloody crazy. But I'm an idiot. So if I were cool, I'd be working on my investment portfolio, all those feeder companies to these big, huge players like Meta and Grok. I mean, whatever Elon's doing and whatever Amazon's doing, whatever Google's doing. And I'd be, staying in five-star hotels and taking pictures by the pool and putting them on Instagram and taking photos of big tomahawk steaks and glasses of wine and posting that in my Facebook story feed and writing about all these wonderful investments and publishing it on Substack and Medium and whatever, making YouTube videos about investment strategies. I'd be getting hundreds of likes and many sponsors. That's what a smart person does, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do anything to slow this down anyway. So you might as well just cash in, spend your time and energy, going after whatever money you can. And but if I should become right wing, I should become a reactionary and call Peter Thiel and tell him how I woke up. And I really am a talent at my age. Yes, I'm a voice. It's so silly. So, talk about voices. I wanted to mention my friend Indrajit Samarajiva. It's hard to say these names, but Indrajit, people call him Indy, or they have different names, but I just call him Indy. I call him Indika sometimes because his URL is indy.ca. And he's a cool guy from Sri Lanka who lived in Ohio and was educated in Canada and the United States. And he has a PhD and he did a lot of things. He did some entrepreneurial stuff. And he went back to Sri Lanka. He went back to Sri Lanka and he lives there with his family now. And he's probably one of the best polemicists we have in the world today. And I know for most people, they're going to balk at that because they don't like polemics, number one. And number two is he's really kind of harsh. He has a lot of harsh criticisms about the United States new miracles. And he calls it the white empire, which smacks of, I just woke up this morning and had black coffee and you call me a racist. You're woke. I think the woke thing is so overblown. It annoys me now when people send me stuff on woke this and woke that. I just like, oh, please don't. I'm so tired of it. But anyway, so he's interesting. And white, he doesn't mean racially white, as if there was a thing, or Caucasian, or Western imperial colonialists from old Europe. European stock, Northern European stock, or at the Anglosphere, or something where you can really boil it down and point to the founding fathers who were slave owners and say it's all their fault. No, it's not that. It's the whole overall concept of Western imperialism and colonialism and the legacy of that and the history of that and how it's manifested after the Industrial Revolution and technology revolution, all that kind of stuff, and how it looks today, and its exploitative nature and violent nature and all those things. I see it. Some people see it. Most people don't, because it's like USA, USA. You have to be a jingoist, you have to be a nationalist, you have to be patriotic, you have to know the difference between wolves and sheep and all that stuff. You have to kill the terrorists. And of course, if you're living in a prison camp and you fight back, you're a terrorist. If you're a superpower and you bomb women and children, you fight for freedom and democracy and free speech and whatnot. I see the hypocrisy in it, the contradictions and all that. And so does he, which is why I like him so much. I ask you to read him even if you hate people like us. If you know somebody who hates people like me and Indy, then go ahead and read him anyway. He wrote a book called White Empire. It's on EPUB and it's also a PDF. And I would say that's a nice introduction to his work. This ritual programming was thought to actually work, and in a deep sense, they were right. Words do have power, be it through laws, edicts, signatures, birth certificates, passports, computer programs, etc. We think of rituals as these archaic things, but we still use them for inaugurating governments, for marking birth and death, for all the most important things in life. In the westernized world, we have indeed gotten names wrong. In the sense that you and I have them, modern passport names are a historical anomaly. Modern passport names are a historical anomaly. an artifact of the individualist age. Confucius talked about roles, lords being good lords, fathers being good fathers, and not about the self-actualization of the person in the role, whatever the fuck that is. Buddhism talks about not self, making the modern perversion of mindfulness into self-help, quite the contradiction. Other Asian and Arab cultures are full of referential names, son of X, elder brother, and in many cases people never use their government names at all. So anyway, it goes on and on like this, but it's quite interesting. It's an easy read and it's not too long, so go ahead and pick it up. So anyway, I'll just stop now. I just wanted to say that because, learning how the semiconductor business works and the whole tech business ecosystem. I hate calling it an ecosystem, but it's a common usage. But that whole network of businesses, that whole domain, if you will, and what it is they want, which is pump and dump and also just money and power. And they're excited because the technology is exciting. I am excited by it. It's very interesting. And I've always been interested in it since the 80s. And working in that space from time to time, I always thought it could be a great force for good, but the bottom line is profit motive and, quarterly profits and big schemes to make tons of money and become wildly rich. And so we don't really think about externalities or things like that at all. It's just stupid to do so. People are in it for the money, period. So it's not like we're doing it for society or for, to be good stewards of complex living systems. We don't care about that. So it's out of hand and it's going to do more harm than good in the long run. I use AI tools, but I'm not going to use them forever. They're going to go away. And, what can you do? I could become a permaculturalist and go off grid as much as possible and just develop friendships in my little community here and live according to the rules of life and whatnot and just watch the whole thing fall apart and feel very virtuous and self-righteous and cool. I could spend all my days out in the garden taking care of the soil. I'm not going to do that. If I were younger, maybe I would, knowing what I know now. I don't know. The temptations and the addictions of modern techno life are very powerful. And I'm probably going to die in 10 years anyway. So what good am I going to do? So I'll just continue to obsess about seeing the world the way I see it and believing, having some confidence in knowing that I'm seeing reality, that I'm facing it, at least, that I am trying to understand reality as best I can and continue to evolve as a honest intellectual. And I'm not saying I'm an academic or anything special. I'm not competing for that. Just want to be real and hopefully meet some real people and be able to share my curiosity and enthusiasms with them. So take good care. Buliam T. Out.